everyone, and welcome back to Mathematics with Usman. This is my fifth video in my series on the topic transformation. Today we are going to discuss transformation, but this time using an enlargement E. Let us first introduce ourselves with the word enlargement. Students, the word enlargement means to enlarge or diminish a given figure according to the scale factor. Enlargement is a kind of transformation which is non-isometric. By non-isometric, what I mean is the shape and the size of an object will not be preserved. It will change according to the given scale factor. There are two important components of enlargement. Number one, center of enlargement we will represent in our tutorial with C. The second important component of enlargement is the scale factor represented by K. Students, very important formula to find the scale factor is given as the scale factor K will be equals to the distance of the image from the center C to the distance of an object from the center C. Or simply you can write it K is equals to the distance between C and I. C represents center, I represent the image, divided by the distance from the center to the object. Let us understand and dig deeply into the topic enlargement by considering the important cases that we have to encounter during our course of transformation. Case number 1, students. If we are dealing with the value of scale factor whose absolute value is greater than 1, what does it mean? The value of K is less than -1 or the value of K is greater than 1. Let us take first example by considering the value of K equals to -2 and the second component center equals to the origin having the coordinates 0 as x coordinate and 0 as y. First of all, we will draw the Cartesian plane. The vertical axis represents the y-axis, the horizontal line represents the x-axis. Let us consider an object A represented by the triangle on the figure. We have to enlarge this figure A with a scale factor of -2 and whose center is 0, 0. And the center of this enlargement will be the origin. So let's first draw the center C at the origin. Dear students, first recall the formula for finding the scale factor. What it is the ratio of the image from the center, distance of image from the center to the ratio of the distance of object from the center. K is equals to Ci divided by Co. Students, as you are given with the scale factor -2, let us consider this vertex of the given figure A. We will consider this vertex an object. Now we have to see the distance of it from the center C. Students, this vertex is -1 in the x direction and -1 in the y direction. So the column vector for its distance from the center will be substituted in the formula as K will be replaced by -2, Ci, the distance of image from the center will remain Ci divided by the column vector of this vertex of the triangle, which is -x in -1 in x direction and -1 in the y direction. So if we now solve it algebraically, what we are going to get, -2 multiplied by -1 -1. We have to multiply this -2 with both the coordinates, so Ci will be equals to 2, 2. Means it has to be 2 units from the center in x direction and 2 units from the center in the y direction. So if we move 2 units in x direction and 2 units in the y direction, this should be the image of this coordinate of the object So let's draw it here. Now let us consider the second vertex of the given figure A. We have to see its distance from the center. The distance of it is -1 in x direction and 1 to -2 in the y direction. So column vector for this distance will be equals to -1 in x direction, -2 in the y direction. So if we substitute the values in the given formula again, what we are going to get is -2 times, but this time -1, -2. So the distance of it from the center is equals to 2, 4. Means the distance of the image of this vertex from the center will be 2 units, positive 2 units in the x direction, 1, 2, and 4 units in the y direction, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this should be the image of this. Let us now consider the third vertex. We have to see its distance from the center C, 1 to 2.5. So it is 2.5 units in the negative sense of x-axis and 1 unit in the negative y direction. So column vector for this vertex will be -2.5, -1. So let us multiply it with the scale factor of -2. So what we are going to get, -2 times -2.5 -1 equals to Ci. So the distance of the image of this vertex from the center will be equals to 5 units in x direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 units in the positive y direction, 1, 2. So here we are going to have the image of the third vertex of A. If we join them, we will get a new triangle B, which is the image of the given triangle A having the scale factor of -2 and center 0, 0. Students, the important fact to consider here is when you are having the scale factor as negative, you can clearly see that your object is on the opposite side of the center and your image is on the opposite side. Let us now consider the value of the scale factor that is positive. So take k equals to -2 and center 0, 0. Students, again we have to enlarge the figure A, but this time the scale factor is 2 and the center is again 0, 0. Consider the first vertex of the triangle, which is -1 from the center in x direction, -1 from the center in y direction. So the column vector will be multiplied with the scale factor 2. So the distance of this vertex of the triangle from the center will be equals to 2 times -1, -1, which is equals to -2 in x direction, -2 in y direction from the center. So if we move -2 units in x direction, we will move here, -2 in the y direction, we will move here. So this should be the image of this vertex. Now consider the second vertex, which is this one. It is -2.5 units in x direction and -1 in the y direction. If we multiply it with the scale factor, the image of it will be equals to -5 in x direction, -2 in the y direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, -1 and -2. So here you are having the image of this vertex of the triangle over here. Consider the third vertex. It is -1 in x direction, -2 in the y direction. So if we multiply it with the scale factor of 2, it will move on to the new point, which is -2, -4. So -2 in x direction, -4 in the y direction. So here we are having the image of the third vertex of A enlarged by the scale factor of 2 with center 0, 0. If we join them, this new figure C will be the image of A after enlargement. And you can clearly see that this C is an isometric transformation, means enlarged by the factor of 2. One more point that I want to make here is when your scale factor is positive, you can see that the image C and the object A, they are both at the same side of the center, means downwards. Let us now move on to the second case, when the value of k will be in between -1 and 1. Students, In the first case, when you are having the value of k greater than 1 and less than -1, your objects were enlarged. But now, when the value of k is in between -1 and 1, we will have the object may be diminished. Let's check it with the scale factor of -0.5 and the center 0, 0. Again, consider the Cartesian plane, vertical axis, the horizontal axis, and let us consider the figure A that we have to enlarge by using the scale factor of -0.5 and center 0, 0. So here is the center. Let us first consider the vertex of this triangle A. It is -1 in x direction and -1 in the y direction. So according to the given scale factor, which is the distance of image from the center divided by the distance of object from the center, two of the things are known. Scale factor is -0.5 and the distance of the object, which is this vertex, from the center is -1, -1. So let us substitute the values in the formula. What we are going to get? -0.5 equals to Ci over -1, -1. Now if we solve them, we are going to get Ci, the distance of the image of this vertex from the center, which is 0.5 in x direction and 0.5 in the y direction. So here you are going to have the image of this vertex of the triangle. Now students, let us consider the second vertex of this triangle, which is -1 in x direction and -4 in the y direction. If we multiply it with the scale factor of -0.5, then we are going to get -0.5 into -1 into -4, and the result is 0.5 units in x direction and 2 units in the y direction. So here we are having -5 from the center and 1, 2 units in the y direction. So this should be the image of the second vertex of this triangle A. Now consider the third vertex, which is -5 unit in x direction and -1 units in the y direction. If it is multiplied with the scale factor of -0.5, we will get 2.5 in x direction and 0.5 in the y direction. So 1, 2 and 2.5, so 0.5. Here you are having the third vertex. If we join them with this triangle, we are going to get the image of this object A with a scale factor of -0.5 and center 0, 0. And students, you can clearly see that the object is larger than the image B. So when we are having the scale factor that is less than 1 or greater than -1, we are going to diminish the object. Students, one point that I want to make here is, see, when the scale factor is negative, you can see that the image is on the upper side of the center and your object is on the lower side. They are on the opposite side of the center. Let us consider one more value of k, which is, let's say, greater than 0 but less than 1. It is k equals to 0.5 and center is again 0, 0. Students, now we want to enlarge the figure, but this time the scale factor is 0.5 and the center is 0, 0. Consider the first vertex of the triangle. Again it is -1, -1 multiplied 0.5, so you are going to get -0.5 and -0.5 in y direction as well. So here is the image of this vertex of the triangle. Now consider the second vertex, which is -5 in x direction and -1 in the y direction. If you multiply it with the scale factor, you will get -2.5 in x direction. So here it is -2.5 and -0.5 in the y direction. So this is the image of the second vertex of the triangle A. Now consider the third vertex, -1 units in x direction, -4 in the y direction. In order to find its image, we will multiply the column vector of this vertex with 0.5. So we will get -0.5 in x direction and -4 multiplied with the scale factor of 0.5 will give us -2. So students, the image of this vertex will be -0.5 in x direction and 1, 2, -2 in the y direction. So this will be the image of this vertex of triangle A. Now if we join all 3 points to form a triangle, the triangle will be the image of A. Let's represent the triangle with C. So C is the image of A with the scale factor of 0.5 and center 0, 0. And students, you can clearly see that C is diminished, means it is lesser in size than A, since the scale factor is in between -1 and 1. And one important consideration that you have to make here is when the scale factor is positive, you can clearly see that the object A and the image C both are at the same direction from the center. And dear students, this brings us to the end of today's tutorial. As always, thank you very much for watching Mathematics with Usman. See you in another tutorial. Till then, it's goodbye.